So I'm Adelaide. I've worked at Papworth for 14 years now, 11 in operations and 3 under data quality in the finance team. So I understand the pressures out in the wider trust as well in obtaining good data quality, especially when you're patient facing and just trying to get through the day. So we work really closely with those operational teams to try and continually improve our position. And obviously the quality of care for patients. And we use a lot of data to try and point us in the right direction. If you can flip slides for me. So we're a small team, there's 3 to 4 of us in my RTT team, and we have a very small PTL of 3,000 to 4,000, which we're very aware that compared to our DGH colleagues, we're probably more of a speciality or a department size. The benefit is that we can make changes across multiple specialities and try and manage those changes by comparing our data centrally, because obviously we haven't got thousands and thousands on our list. And being part of the BI team, we're really keen on using data to instigate their trust improvements in all area and using good data to be able to do that. We've been live with PP Plus for 18 months, and before that we were dual running for 6 months. So we've pretty much only just started to do things properly when COVID hit. So we're still in a bit of a funny position, really, trying to get people out in the trust to take up PP Plus. Can I have the next slide? So why did we go with PP Plus? Why did we need to change? Well, I'm probably going to echo a lot of what John mentioned earlier, actually. We had an old access system which was maintained really by one individual. We had a similar thing. Access was a bit like John's black box in the sense that we would take all the data from the PAS system, put it all in spreadsheets and then feed it back into Access. And so at one particular point, we had 2,000 pathways different from one system to the other. So the pathways in Lorenzo, our PAS system, always look different from the Access PTL because of the number of errors in the system. Therefore, it's really difficult for staff out in the trust to see where they've gone wrong and how they've gone wrong. So we were in a bit of a pickle, really. So we wanted one single version of the truth, and we wanted to, rather than having our PTLs on a weekly basis, we wanted to be able to create something in more real time. Obviously, we've got the daily PTL now, and we also wanted to move that ownership back to the operational teams, similar to what John was saying earlier. The ownership very much sat with us as the central team because we manually updated Access and we manually produced a PTL. So we needed to hand that ownership back to our operational colleagues. And we also wanted, obviously, that increased visibility. We needed our operational colleagues to be able to see the pathways, to see that relatable data on PP Plus, and for the systems to look the same, to see errors in the pathway easily, and to validate as near to real time as possible, creating that good audit trail and hopefully decreasing manual input. Because there was always a lot of someone would send an email to somebody to query something while somebody else was emailing somebody else. There was always a lot of hands in the pie, really. So this means we can look on there, we can see if an action's been sent out, we can see if a validation comment's been put on there, so we know whether somebody else is already dealing with this. So that's saved a lot of manual input, just that one little thing. Could I change slides? Thanks. So what have we done? So redesigning a bit of our business process to make best use of the daily PTL. So this is the operational teams are continually able to validate their PTL in multiple sub-teams. But when we come to that PTL meeting once a week, they can print out PTL, or they can bring it up on screen and everybody's comments are in there, and that's helped that process no end. We're able to go through our PTL patient by patient down to 18 weeks. So we're very lucky that we have the the ability to do that. We have less manual input in Excel, and we no longer, as the RTT team, have to try and pull multiple versions of a PTL together. So again, the operational teams have now taken ownership for their own data. So using data as the foundation to make changes across the trust, we're very keen that data will always give you your true position. If you've got rubbish data, it's because normally rubbish is going in to the system. And PP Plus has helped us really be able to see what's wrong in the system. So PP Plus has helped us see errors we didn't know about before, the quirks of our Lorenzo PAS system. For example, the difficulty with outcoming multiple appointments on the same day and keeping that tracking correct actually in the patient's pathway. And so we can identify errors we didn't know we had, but also we can log those errors so we can actually create data about the errors that we're seeing. Go down to the next one. It's all right. So risk stratifying our DQ reports. So we look at which exceptions in PP Plus have the highest error rate, which are the highest risk to the patient and our trust position. We log the number of errors that we get per exception report to identify areas of focus. What type of errors are we seeing, which department and which individuals, so that we can target training or we can target process changes. And this has led to a reduction in errors in various areas, which we'll see an example when we get to the next page. And we use the actions and workflow within PP Plus to inform line managers or business units of errors to be corrected by those that made the error. So that we collate all of that data to show where changes of process or increased training is needed. We recognise that the RTT team just continually amending pathways and people still doing the same incorrect process in our PAS system. We were just going round and round and round in circles. So we needed to try something different, and PP Plus gave us the opportunity with the actions to do this. If you can put slides. So this is a bit of an example of some of the graphs that we produce that go out to various operational meetings, etc. So these graphs, I'll just make it known, they only include errors that we as the central team identify. It doesn't include any errors that the validators might use, because they don't quite use the same action system as us. We want to get to that point, but it's quite difficult trying to keep that standardization to produce the data. So we can see that, in December, we were on about 500 errors a month that we'd identified. And we have got this down to just above 300 at the moment that we noted in February. And graph 2 is a snapshot of one particular error. So this is where staff should have started a new clock for patients who have been added to a treatment waiting list and need a new RTT clock, but they weren't starting them. So we focused in on that from December. That was one of our focal points from December to March. So we can see a big reduction where we targeted particular staff members or targeted particular business units to make sure that their stocks, etc., had information for them to be able to correctly do this on Lorenzo, do bits of group training, etc. So it is starting to work, and the data's allowed us to focus in on that. That's the next slide. So challenges, workload. I mean, obviously, there's an increasing number of long waiters at the moment due to COVID, and we have lots of staff working in different areas where their knowledge may not be as complete as it was before. So obviously, we need to bear with team. We're currently in the RTT team correcting errors for the ward just due to the current pressures from the nursing and admin staff over there. And the workload has slightly gone up for the DQ team because of actually writing the actions that we send to people. It needs to be quite specific to get them to make the correct change, and a bit of detailed advice of where they've gone wrong. But, you know, we are trying to get things right first time, so we feel in the long run this will be of benefit. Also, the errors that are sent out in the process notes have to be corrected on the patient administration system within 24 hours of them being notified of the error. And this is a struggle for teams. We are getting better, and they are getting better at doing them in a timely manner. We needed to set it at quite a small time period because, as probably everybody knows, if you leave it a little while, before you know it, somebody else has put another error on top of the last error that was there, and it just gets too complicated. But fundamentally, the actions that we've been sending out is, if staff don't know they're doing it incorrectly, then they're not given the opportunity to learn to get it right. So, and it's about making people take responsibility for those errors and a bit of their own learning to make sure they are doing it correctly. Click to the next screen. So how are we dealing with these challenges? Well, again, it's about reinforcing to staff members that these actions are about staff getting it right, and the focus graphs that we send to meeting really help staff to see that their effort's not wasted, and trying to, you know, change the perception that where we were probably about a year ago was when they were doing the actions, it was seen as something that needed corrective for our department, and we've worked really hard in promoting that this is for the benefit of the patients, and it's not just something for some internal admin or internal report. This has real benefit to the patients. We also send out a weekly action report, which gives the operational teams the data for their business units of outstanding actions. Obviously, all teams like to know they're improving, and you know, there's always a bit of healthy rivalry in being a little bit better than some of the other teams. And we also discuss these errors in our weekly access meeting with our Chief Operations Officer. So we have a lot of support from upper management and the board. And one of our DQ team acts as a business partner for each speciality to try and assist with training, pathway process changes and complex corrections. Next one. So what are the benefits? Well, we do feel that overall it is worth the effort. Getting it right first time, having the right data in there helps us make continuous improvement and to see where additional learning and process changes are needed. We feel that we probably avoided a bit of additional cost. Our last process in access, you know, the report would be downloaded on a Monday. All the DQ checks would have to be done by the Wednesday morning for submission. Really stressful, trying to be accurate, trying to deal with queries within a 2-day window. Whereas now, you know, we can check throughout the week. And also, it's been quite a long time since we have identified any breaches over 52 weeks that we didn't know about, which is obviously a real bonus for us. Audit trails, you know, all DQ checks are visible in PP Plus. John was talking about it earlier, you know, these continual piles and piles of Excel worksheets where the data moves, you know, it's done in 1 week, the next week it's obsolete. That continuous data and to be able to build and see trend has been really important for us. And to have that data confidence, data that we can audit and use to improve. You know, our PTL is run via the access plans on Lorenzo, so we're able to see patients' clinical prioritisation. We're able to see the comments from their access plan to see if they've got next steps in place. You know, and we're just looking at the moment, we've just been getting our harm review actually into our PAS system and are looking to pull that through to our PTL so we can see the date for harm reviews for our patients over 35 weeks, which will just help the operational teams know that each patient over that 35-week threshold has had their harm review in a fairly timely manner. So there's lots and lots that we can be working on to just improve our data and help our operational colleagues and get it right first time and use that data from PP Plus to actually take control of those pathways and really be of benefit to the patients. So looking forwards, we'll be implementing, hopefully in the next few weeks, our 18-week e-learning training. So that's about getting it right first time. And we've used a lot of this data to inform some of the areas in the training where we know staff continually get it wrong, to try and put those steps in place so that they can follow things carefully and know what they're doing. And obviously a big thing for us for RTT, for PP Plus, is to expand across non-RTT data, especially with this new weekly data sheet that we've now got to produce, which includes our non-RTT pathways. So we're very keen to move forward on that. And just using that data and the subsequent training and changes of processes to drive towards, you know, really making a gold standard provision for patients coming to the trust, really.